Politician move.
Man, green apple. What's up with green? I like red. Sorry, Armand.
Weird. That's so wild. Didn't say anything I regret.
No.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so kindly for joining us. Welcome to Green Apple Books on the Park. My name is Car Johnson. I'm the event coordinator for Green Apple. Thanks, yay! I'm glad you're all here too. I am here tonight because I have the total honor of welcoming Tomas Moniz to celebrate the SF event for his novel, All Friends Are Necessary. Let's give it up for Tomas. And he is joined tonight by Michelle Cruz Gonzales. Let's give it up for Michelle as well. Okay, if you've been here before, you usually know that I don't do an intro for books. I let the people talk about them, and I just kind of get out of the way, and I say, this is where the books are in the bathroom. But I don't have an intro tonight. But what I will say very briefly is that I really loved this book, and that I was trying to kind of feel my feelings and think, why do I love this book so much? And I think a good part of it was there's a bookseller in it. That was good. But I was also like, wow, everyone is just really great friends. Like, they're really good at being friends. And I don't want to step on the toes of what you guys are going to talk about. But I think what I also really loved was that it felt like my friends. Like, it felt like a book about my friends and the particular weird, like, non-conventional, let's say, Bay Area friendships that we get to develop here. And it's such a Bay book. Like, it's really exciting. It's so fun reading a book about a place where you live, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's vendors. Oh my god, there's Donut Savant. Like, it's really fun to read. So I'm really glad that we get to be a part of All Friends Are Necessary's journey. And I'm glad you're both here, and I'm glad you're all here to celebrate with us too. Okay.
Also, there are 2 seats in the front if anyone needs seats.
Thank you.
You want to be uncomfortable right in the front? Oh, this isn't even mine.
Or lots of seats over there.
Right in front if you want. There you go.
Hey, you're a hero. Now we're going to call on you. I'm just kidding. But anyway, I have a little bit more business, and then I let these two take it away. First of all, thank you for joining us here in person and also online. Hello, online audience. I'm waving to a camera in case you can't see. We are here in San Francisco, broadcasting from San Francisco. We open each of our events with a land acknowledgement. We are operating on unceded Ramaytush Ohlone land, and we think that acknowledgement requires action, and so we encourage you to donate, with that said, to donate either your time or your monetary means to an Indigenous organization each time you hear a land acknowledgement. We have details about how to connect. What we usually recommend is connecting to the Ramaytush Ohlone Land Trust, and we have details at the back desk right here on how to do so and how you can participate in this project of rematriation. All right. I have very brief business before we move on to the fun part of the hour. Now is a good time to silence your cell phones if you have not already. I would encourage you to do so. Picture taking is also encouraged and totally fine. Please do take photos. That would be great. We love seeing them online. You can also keep them for yourself if you're not into that. But yes, just don't take a call in the middle of the event. That's not appropriate. Please do check out our full event calendar online at greenapplebooks.com. We have a really great season ahead of us, including the event that you are attending right now. The restroom is behind me. It is available after the event and not during the event for obvious reasons. If you need to know how to get there, do ask me and I will gladly help you. We have copies of books by both of our authors at the front register. You can find them there. If you have been here before, you have also heard me say that when you buy books from us, not only do you support us as an independent bookstore, you also support writers who put so much work into making these books, and then you get to have a book, which is really cool. Yeah. So if you are able, we always appreciate it. Thank you. And they'll sign them, I think.
Signed books.
Signed
books. And I have a stamp.
There's a stamp.
It's such a cute little stamp. I'm so excited.
It's like layers on layers of goodness. So if you are able,
I have flour tortillas. No, just
goodness and heartbreak. But if you are able, we always appreciate it. Thank you so kindly. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the two folks who are joining us tonight. First, punk writer Michelle Cruz Gonzales is the author of The Spit Boy Rule, Tales of a Chicana in a Female Punk Band. She has published in anthologies the LA Review of Books, Long Reads, and she's featured in the film Turn It Around, Story of East Bay Punk. She has taught English and creative writing for the past 20 years at Las Positas, where tenure makes it possible to say the F word in meetings and advocate hardcore for young people. Let's give one more hand for Michelle Cruz Gonzales. And last but most certainly not least, Tomas Moniz is a Latinx writer living in Oakland, California. His debut novel, Big Familia, was a finalist for the 2020 Penn Hemingway and the Lambda and Forward Indies Awards. He edited the popular Rad Dad and Rad Families anthologies. He is also the recipient of the prestigious SF Literary Arts Foundation 2016 Award and the 2020 Artist Affiliate for Headland Center for the Arts. Hella Bay. He currently teaches at Berkeley City College and the Antioch MFA program, and his novel, All Friends Are Necessary, is the reason we are here tonight. Let's give it up for Tomas Moniz.
All right. Thank you really so much for being here. I know it can be difficult to find parking out there. My goodness. Hopefully you biked there. But if you didn't, we found parking. We're here together. I really appreciate you being here. And I want to say also, I love kid noises, so feel free to relax. If they cry, I'm good with it. We can talk over it. Don't stress, please.
Yes, please don't stress.
Right.
You don't need to run.
If you need me to hold the baby, I will hold the baby as well. Same, right? We will fight over the baby. We can talk parenting if we want to as well. No. We're done with that. Anyways, thank you very much for being here. So we're going to have a very casual, I'm going to read for about 8 minutes, chapter 2. I feel really bad. Thomas is in the back there. He was at another event I had in Santa Rosa. He's going to hear this one for a second time. If I do anything wrong, just correct me while I'm doing that, right? And then we'll go some Q&A from you all, and then mingling at the end is the best, and we'll be happy to sign books. Anything you want to add?
No, take it away. It's your night.
Okay, it's my night. All right, here we go. I love this chapter. It's called Like Needle to Record. I'm riding BART to West Oakland to meet Terrence for the first time. And I'm practicing my small talk in response to those generic first date questions. Terrence is hopefully a new friend, a very sexy friend. According to Metal Matt, who orchestrated this meetup, aka blind brunch date / possible hookup. Metal Matt believes I need a safe yet physical distraction. He knows my history with men and women, having lived with me as I tried to figure all that out. One night, right after college, I complained about a date being uncomfortable with me also seeing a woman. We were on BART heading to 924 Gilman to see a punk band from LA. Maybe it was Spit Boy. Oh, but you weren't from LA. No, okay, never mind. That we read about in Razor Cake. He said, why do you need to figure anything out? Seems like they need to figure something out. The way he phrased it felt so obvious and clear, so easy. The first generic question then, what do you do? I was a biology teacher in Seattle for years. Yes, I do miss my students, but I absolutely do not want to return to a school district. I want to work with kids and talk about trees and plants outside, not in a classroom. I blame Miss Frizzle and the magic school bus, which I watched constantly as a child, for leading me to a degree in botany at State and then a career teaching middle school. I always lined my classroom desk with cacti and succulents. My poor aloe vera plant, though, was continually decimated by Timmy C especially, because I happened to explain to him the medicinal benefits of the plant on cuts. Every few weeks, he offered proof on various appendages for a new aloe leaf to help him heal. I love the sound of children screaming, Mr. Flores! So my answer to the question, what do you do? Call me Mr. Flores, 8th grade science teacher extraordinaire. Generic question number 2, usually about my name. So, Chino Flores is interesting. My actual birth name is Efren, after my grandfather, a big, kind-hearted man everyone loved and who gardened, ate voraciously, and died peacefully in his sleep of heart failure before I was 2. But I go by Chino. My father started calling me Chino because my mother spent her pregnancy in Shenzhen, China, on a women in math exchange program. My dad told everyone after I was born that I looked like a cute chinito with black hair and little eyes, and that maybe I wasn't even his. But despite the implication, my mother loved the name, whispering it to me in those quiet moments, my China flower. Which leads me to generic question number 3. So, where are your parents? My father, yes, we're in contact, but barely. My mother passed when I was 18, almost 20 years ago. Before that, we moved constantly. In fact, I envy her ability to just pick up and leave everything behind. Apartments, jobs, men, a strength I could use right now. But Terrence doesn't ask a single question. He greets me at the door with a smirk. My goodness, Chino, you look a little nervous. I shift my weight into one foot and say, please, trying to sound absolutely not nervous, but I can't hide it. Even I can tell I'm pretending, that I feel eager and skeptical and awkward. He says, come, come, and ushers me into the middle of his studio apartment. He then points to the record console and says, sit and choose a record. I'm making us food. I want to feed you. And he returns to the kitchen to make us healthy lunch bowls, like we do this all the time. And Metal Matt is certainly right. Terrence definitely distracts. Mixed race and husky, wearing lightweight and breathable yoga pants, tight in such interesting places, and the loose cropped shirt with the sleeves cut off, revealing the underside of his belly. He moves through the kitchen area in plaid house slippers. The way he's dressed, I can tell he's not planning on leaving the house. So I slip off my Nikes and I plop down onto the plush carpet, happy to focus on choosing the music. But I struggle. I don't want to offend him, but the predominance of 80s pop stupefies. The closest thing to metal I find, Bon Jovi. I figure, sure, why not? Everyone loves Slippery When Wet. I pull the album from the shelf. I say, how's this? And I hold the sleeve up high so he can see. He's constructing our bowls of quinoa and garbanzo beans and Swiss chard, easier to digest than kale, I'm informed. Real bacon for him and tempeh bacon for me. We're both trying to get healthy. No booze, no wheat, no drama. I don't miss the wheat or the drama, but come nighttime, I usually miss the booze. It's been 2 weeks. He doesn't look up, but he says, does it matter? I say, honestly? Everyone always says that, but really? He says, if I own it, I should have no problem hearing it. I say, I agree, but secretly, I don't. There are times you want something specific. The long, hard buildup of doom metal or the fast punch of thrash, everything matters. I pull the record out, and it has this plastic sleeve that crinkles and bunches. I can't imagine trying to slide the record back in. I figure I'll deal with that particular stress later, and I place the album on the top of the turntable. The needle moves, and the speakers crackle to life, but it's not anything remotely like Bon Jovi. The poppy drumbeat races, and a guitar joins, and immediately it picks up speed and energy, and of course I instantly recognize it, and all I can do is bob my head. Suddenly, Terrence races in from the kitchen with a wooden salad tongs, pretending that it's a mic, sliding in his house slippers across the floor like he's done this a million times. He belts along with Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's. See the people walking down the... I just want a DJ to play that. And it's the silliest, most beautiful thing ever. I say, this is definitely not Bon Jovi. And he smirks and says, I am so glad you found it. I've been searching for this record. And I say, you have? And I realize I sound so dismissive, so judgy, and he's so cute. He says, hey, sometimes you find what you need what finds you. Or what you need finds you, excuse me. We got the beat, he sings, and I pick it up. We got the beat, and I sit cross-legged on the carpet, and I smile up at him. I must look some kind of way because he says, let's dance. He reaches out his hand to me, but I don't take it. I stand on my own accord, and I say, it's like 10:30 in the morning. I'm not only sober, but I haven't even had my coffee yet. He says, you're afraid you can't dance because you're sober and uncaffeinated? He says this as if he's a bit disappointed in me, in who I am. He stares at me. He's still holding those tongs up to his mouth like he's hungry. I look at his outstretched arm, notice a group of small geometric tattoos at his elbow crease. I say, "You want me to dance to this song?" He says, "Well, then what would you like?" I worry he's placating me, but whatever. I say, "Anything but the 80s. He says, "Fine." And he rolls his eyes and he kills the music, lifting the needle. I have a moment of sadness that the song actually ends. He steps to the laptop on the coffee table and flips it open. He says, "Ooh, how's this playlist? It's called Cali Love. But don't ask what's on it. Let's just find out for ourselves." I shrug, of course, but I can't help it. And I step to the screen and I read some names that I know, Joni Mitchell, Missing Persons, but then I see it. Mac Dre and Andre Nicotina's My Homeboy Chevy. Now we need the DJ to play that song right this second.
We should have.
I should have rehearsed this, right?
On my phone.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Let's start again. No, I'm joking. I click on it and Dre starts talking about getting your weed from the store the legit way. Dre says, "Quit thugging out." Terrence and I both bounce our shoulders to the beat. Then Terrence starts dancing. And then I dance, and we keep about 2 feet distance between us. And then I reach my hand out, and he reaches his hand out, and we touch, like needle to record, like voice track to drum track, like welcome home and stay a while. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was chapter 2. There's more music in it, but that's the best music chapter there is, I think. Maybe there's a couple more. Anyways, we'll stop. All right, we can turn it over to some questions.
All right. First of all, I just want to say, what you were reading, that was lovely. But also, I was looking up there. I used to be a preschool teacher, and I want to just go up there and read all these books.
I know.
I haven't seen the latest and the greatest of the preschool literature, and I'm so enchanted over here.
Well, as a grandfather, I've noticed how good books are now for kids. It's stunning.
Yeah, they were good in the 90s too, by the way. Heather has 2 mommies, okay?
Okay, there we
Just
go.
saying.
There we go.
All right, so are you ready? You ready for some questions?
Some easy questions, yes.
Some easy questions. All right, so Tomas, you just got married.
Oh no, I did. And I didn't share as my girlfriend when I came here, but it's my wife is in the back there, right? She's the biggest heckler, so watch out.
La Media Naranja lady is here. So you just got married and you released a book all in the same month. The book is getting really awesome reviews and impressive attention. And the wedding was a blast. I was there.
Oh.
How are you feeling? Like a book and a wedding all in the same month, within a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm ready for a nap. No, I'm feeling great. I mean, it was such a wonderful opportunity to kind of connect. My family was in town at my opening book event. I had like 10 of my family. Like my brother has never, ever come to any reading ever. And my nieces and nephews were there. And they're like, I embarrassed them really badly. It was great. But they loved it. So it's a nice confluence of kind of those worlds that sadly don't mix too often. So.
That's so cool. So your brother had any of your brothers ever seen you?
I love family. They buy all the books. I don't think they've ever read a book. So, and I actually don't really want them to read the book. This book's kind of sexy. It's got I have a couple friends. Like my cousin just posted a picture of his daughter like holding the book, and I was like, "Yay, thank you." Wait a second. But I believe you. It's not that bad. But you know what I'm saying. It's just like interesting. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And in the back of my book, I always have my address to write me a letter and tell me what you think of the book. So I told my niece to go ahead and write me what she thinks of the book.
Oh,
so we'll see.
That's sweet. Well, I hope I hear a little bit about that.
You will.
All right. So if you haven't read the book, it is set during the pandemic. And so before we get specific about, more specific things about the book, I want to talk about pandemic books for a minute. I have been wondering this for a minute. Like, are they already a thing? And do you consider this a pandemic book? And which other pandemic books have you read? I always ask double barrel questions.
Right, yeah, that's a triple barrel question there, right
triple there. Triple barrel.
I don't know what pandemic books I've actually read that center the pandemic. And this book certainly, and when I was thinking of it, like there's a section, the first part is written pre-pandemic. And it was like, the social tragedy happening then was Trump, right? And like, I really wanted to write a book that was kind of about joy and getting, finding ways in which to remain kind of connected to, activism and being engaged in a world where Trump just got elected, right? So, that was kind of that book. And then the second part, I was done with it. I didn't think about that story that I'd written. And then the pandemic hit, right? And so then one of the things I did to kind of deal with the pandemic was like walk through my neighborhood a lot. And that's really where part 2 of this book, or the book is actually part 3. And just kind of like, we were talking about like or I guess Carl was talking about the specific locations that are mentioned in the book. And all the ones in East Oakland were in my neighborhood. So I just wrote like, oh, this is my Chinese food restaurant I love. I'm going to write about this, right? And look at those dogs running wild in the park. I'm going to write about them, right? And so that it felt like that section of the book was really kind of influenced by feeling the fear of the world, and yet still wanting to be a part of the world and finding connection. So I think that it does. The pandemic's around this novel, but it's not centered in it. It's not a reaction to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we were in a writing group.
Right.
Tomas and I and Karen. Raise your hand, Karen. And you were writing some of this section during the writing group, and we were meeting on Zoom, of course. And I actually remember your descriptions from that chapter and others in particular, because I wasn't going over there, right? I was staying in my neighborhood, and Tomas was staying in his neighborhood, and I felt like I was kind of getting a sense of
Nice.
Something outside of my Zoom screen and my Zoom classrooms, and my own neighborhood and my own family. So that was a fond memory when you read that.
I want to drop by any extra copies I have to the places that I wrote about, like Donut Savant.
I was going to ask you if you
Yeah, I got to my little restaurant. I dropped off the little brewery that's around the corner from my old house. So yeah, that's been fun.
Oh, they'll appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully they'll make like a little bookshelf for it.
Right.
That's what they should do.
Wait, I was just thinking about somebody. I was telling someone that I'd written about this thing, and then I realized I don't know if what I wrote about in the book was any good. Like, if it's in a good light. I was like, wait a second, was I mean? Was I mean to this story in the book? I'm like, oh no. Anyways, when I remember what it is, I'll tell you. But yes.
Okay. Well, I started reading the Gary Steingart pandemic novel, and I haven't finished it. Not because it wasn't good. It's just because I'm always reading like 5 books at once, and they're often about linguistic justice or teaching stuff, and so then I get distracted by those.
Hey, wait. That's a segue. I'm going to interrupt because I have a question for her that I want to always ask. So, as writers, and we're both teachers, and I think there's some other teachers in the audience as well, right? So, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and that I like to think about in my own process, is how, like, your attention and detail to linguistic justice and like coming in, learning about your own voice and helping facilitate that process in other writers has kind of made you reflect on your own, coming to your voice and your own perhaps creative writing practice, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, for those who don't know, linguistic justice is like rooted in this idea that standard English, like the language myth, the language ideology myth, is that it's a myth, the idea that standard English or academic English or business English is the most clear, the naturally most like concise, and that's a myth. And linguistic justice teachers would forward the idea that we should encourage people to find their own voice by writing from their own positionalities, but also writing from their own language variations and including those language variations into their prose, even academically.
Even how scary! How will we understand it?
People always say, "What you mean? You're gonna just let people write anything they want?" No, that sounds like a logical fallacy to me. But okay. But anyway, how has linguistic justice informed my own writing voice? Yeah, I mean, this is a really sad story, actually. I'm obsessed and completely devoted to the mission of English linguistic justice because I do not speak or write in the way that I was meant to because my mother was robbed of her Spanish when she went to kindergarten. She went in speaking Spanish and she came out monolingual speaking English only. And so I did not grow up in LA. I did not grow up speaking Spanish, and it's a loss. It's something that I mourn deeply, kind of constantly. But I feel like as an MFA, I did my MFA at Mills College many years ago, and being a craft person, the cool thing about craft, even though it's part of the discipline of English. It's a separate discipline often, right? The cool thing about craft is that different voices are your way into writing something unique. So being able to experiment with the voices that I do have, regardless of the loss of Spanish, has something that's always been really important to me. But even more important, it's been more important to me as a teacher, helping my students develop their voices, their languages, their authentic selves through their writing, and not having to just code switch and be this one person at school and this other person at home or in their actual lives. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Yeah, I mean, because I think about that a lot. My own relationship to language and writing is certainly very fraught, right? And to this day, all my students usually know I'm a horrible speller, right? And
has nothing to do with intelligence.
Exactly, right? Or the ability to write. And so, like, just kind of feeling like writing is kind of fluid in a way. And I'm able to, like, once I write something doesn't mean it's set in concrete. Like, I can go back and massage it and change it. And I think that's really helped me. I think I was talking to an old zinester back there. Hello, I see you. And like doing zines was the same type of thing. Like it freed me to like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done. And sometimes I can share it with people and like, we can be like, haha. I mean, I've read writing I've put out for years ago still. And I'm like, oh, ooh, I would change that now. Right. But whatever, it allowed me to grow and feel confident that I can write and I can make mistakes and I can change them and it's not the end of the world. And I think there's a certain freedom in approaching writing that way.
Yes, absolutely. The perfectionist, and like a lot of our perfectionism is around the idea of standard English, right? And so we are holding ourselves to this standard that is a construct. Right. And we absolutely don't need to do that in zines or really any place else. And so, yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Right. So all the typos are mine in the book, right? This might be a great moment. Does anyone have any questions from the audience before we've got a few more questions for ourselves? But we can, engage.
This is a semi-related, but I also love donut savant. What is your order there?
I always do the vanilla square one. What is that?
Yes.
All the time, and I get really angry when I live with my mom. That sounds so weird to say, right? When I send my mom to go get me donuts, and no, I don't. But when she goes, she always come back and she won't get them. I'm like, Mom, you know I love them. What are you doing? She's like, I got you a chocolate one. I'm like, no. Anyways, I feel bad now. I got to apologize to my mom. That's my favorite order.
She approves.
Yeah, right.
Having to do with your writing process, I guess as a person who has a lot of typos, how many rounds of editing would you say that you did, maybe per chapter?
That's a great question. And I feel like I did a lot of rounds at various times. Because I initially was one kind of small zine I made, and there was another zine, and I did those ones, and those ones had, at some point I just let go. There's typos in it, right? Like, but I will say when I got my first round of copy edits back there, I looked at the Microsoft document and it shows you how many corrections they made. 6,000. To this day, I'm scarred. Like I don't even know what happened. I was 6,000 changes.
Some of those were just weird spaces.
They were. That's what they were. I'm telling myself that, but yeah. So I think so my relationship with editing in that way is like. I certainly have writing groups, and I ask them. That may be more about like content, but I have one or two people that I share it with, and this guy, make sure I'm not doing something ridiculous that I'm not seeing. But and like I said, doing the zines, I think and sharing my work regularly has allowed me to feel it's all right. People can get over a misused semicolon, although I do love semicolons. I never misuse them. But there's not one semicolon in this book, and I still feel bad to this day. Wow. My next book is going to be full of semicolons, I've decided. That's all I want. Yeah.
I feel like you said you wanted to make a joyful novel, and I feel a lot like joyful fiction is a rare and beautiful thing.
Right.
What was that like? Was that challenging to come at it from that angle? Are there other joyful books that you sort of used as inspiration? Just what was that? Especially in the pandemic and all.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
And it's weird because the book also deals with some really intense kind of trauma, both personal for the characters and then kind of socially that they're all living through the pandemic and stuff. So, I really wanted that joy. And for me personally, as I was writing the various drafts, the iterations of it, like the first iteration was all about like just joy, drinking, hooking up. It was just like, I want to talk about bike riding. I just want the things that make kind of me happy and create a world in which I'm seeing that. And then, I kind of, realized as I was writing a more complete novel, like it had to have more of a kind of an arc and a development and kind of ups and downs. But I will say I really loved the ending image of this book. It's joyous. I love it. It's like there's nothing better than this. I don't want to spoil it, but not like you're spoiling anything. But it's so I find those moments in the book that for me really kind of contain the joy, even though the characters kind of experience other things as well. But yeah, I search for those moments and try and stay in them as long as possible. Michelle?
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. One of our writing group members who's not here, Ariel Gore. She has been here though, right?
She has.
Yeah.
Ariel Gore is wonderful.
She told you something really important that you told me recently. She said that you only get one debut novel. And you said that this actually makes more sense to you now from a craft perspective. Explain this for all the novelists in the room, and to me, since I'm hoping to have my first novel published soonish.
Right. Well, she really helped me think about, because like when I first was shopping my debut novel, Big Familia, she was, she brought up this point, like you can hold on to it for as long as you can until someone buys it, or you can work with, smaller presses, or even do it yourself. And so it's a choice you're making, and you only get one. And I thought that was kind of it made me, because sometimes I think like as writers, we want to get our work out there so immediately, right? And I think it's a nice reminder that like, you play the long game, right? Like just because something gets published immediately doesn't mean, you should have published it. That sounds kind of weird, but like making that decision where you want to publish it, I think, and making kind of a kind of fully thought through decision, I think is important. Because to this day, like as someone who did zines for a long time, like I'll write something and I want to make a zine and put it out and mail it to my friends in 24 hours. And like that, sometimes it's wonderful. I did a zine on writing my marriage vows in Lana Del Rey, and I literally put that in the mail in like a day. And now I've edited it enough and I've read it out loud, and I realize that zine actually could use a good amount of editing, right? But it is what it is. But with your debut novel, you only get one, and I think it's something to consider. Like, where do you want to hold on to it? Do you want to kind of just get it out more immediately? I think that's something to really sit with. And there's no one right answer. I just think it's something that when I'm teaching and I work with these people who've got their manuscripts and they're ready to go, I'm like, ask yourself, like, where you want this in 5 years or 10 years.
Nice. Thank you. So this novel is set in the Bay Area, specifically Oakland and San Francisco. We both live in Oakland. And you mentioned that a couple of recent reviews have said that it's too Bay Area.
What?
I have a feeling, I know, right?
All right, I know, right?
I have a feeling that these critiques are related to the current national backlash against critical race theory and or DEIA efforts still happening, thank goodness, in the Yay area.
Yes.
So what do you think?
I mean, it's true. I think I had this one interesting kind of review that, was positive. And then at some points it was like, there's some scenes that need more like nuance, more development. And she was talking about like this, that I was writing about like in the Mission District when the Nazis were rallying, they were actually like parading in the streets. And so there's a scene where first of all, they're all in spandex, which I love, right? At a spin class, and the spin teacher's yelling, it gets them all to yell, "Fuck Nazis." And the reviewer quoted that, and she wanted like more nuance there. And I'm like, I don't think there's more nuance to "fuck Nazis." Like it's kind of, no, there's no. So, so I feel like there's those kind of things where the politics, as someone who is a lefty in the Bay Area, like for me, it's exciting to kind of plant those like Easter eggs of my kind of radical worldview into my characters or into the story.
And as lefties, we can make the same critique about
exactly
the more nuance. We can make the opposite critique. Right. Absolutely.
Right. Like the scene. I love the scene. And my editor is back here too, right? Hi, editor. And I'm going to bust him out real quick because one of the things he loved was in the opening scene. There's this Metal Matt like swallows the last bit of whiskey in a bottle, and he kind of symbolically throws it to be like, exclamation point. And then he's got to respond to the crowd that saw him and gave him dirty looks, and he's like, relax, I'm gonna fucking pick it up. Like, I'm just kind of, and he was like, I love that moment of the Bay Area, like where it's like, I know I'm not gonna litter, I'll recycle it. But I'm just trying to make a point with my friend. And so, I mean, I think that's why when I tried to sell the book to, I did a couple of these like pre-book seller events, and I was like, it's a love letter to the Bay Area. Like, it's very much the Bay, and if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but it's my thing. Right?
It's your thing.
It's my thing.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
Why not? Lots of other writers write about places.
Right, exactly.
It's funny
New York, it's written about all the time.
All the time, and I do really think that books about the Bay Area get that critique because of all the stereotypes and all the common critiques that we get about the Bay Area, and the criticisms that we get about whatever it used to be about Marin, or it used to be the hippies, or whatever is the critique du jour of the Bay Area. Yeah. I just used a French word.
I know you did. Look at that.
That was so fancy of me.
Nice.
I don't usually use French words. That was weird.
Neither do I. I don't know how to spell any French words.
I definitely don't know how to spell any.
You used 3 French words.
Did you?
I said 3, yeah. All right, all in one. A 3 in 1. Okay, so this is going to be fun. Both of us write a lot about music.
Right.
My focus is rooted in my experience being in like political feminist bands, writing songs, and touring. Yours is from the perspective of a serious fan. Serious
fangirl, definitely.
A fangirl.
Right, I am.
From a craft perspective, what is the role of music in this book? That's the first question. I won't ask you the second one until you answer that one.
The role of music in the book, I think...
Craft perspective.
What was that?
From a craft perspective, what is the role of music? Or otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah. I think for me, the music influenced my craft because I wanted that kind of energy and excitement to run through the book. Like, it's meant to be quick and jangly and exciting, and kind of like that scene I read, like build up and then crash down, and I want that as my structure of the novel. And then of course, like, to try and it was very funny in my editing process. I don't know which editor it was, but like pointed out that I was talking about like Korn there's a big Korn concert. I really wanted to read the Korn concert scene, and there's a whole concert. I really wanted to read the whole concert scene, but this one I don't know which is copy editor, would say like, well, you say it's 2018 in the summer, and the whole didn't really play at that stage. And I'm like, it's fiction, right? I thought I could just make this stuff up. I mean, it's kind of loosely related to my own experience, so I knew anyway. So it was lots of fun to like bring into the novel all the things that I kind of love about kind of engaging with music in the world. And so that's where that is. And I was very sad. It's meant to have a Joanna Newsom, like, what's it called? Epigraph.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I could not get in touch with her.
Oh,
and somebody didn't use it, and I'm devastated to this day.
Oh.
But I love what I did eventually use. But Joanna Newsom is the spirit behind this book as well.
Right. I love the way, adding lyrics to something, including some of the lyrics or referencing a certain song title. Mm-hmm. If the person knows the lyrics, there's like a whole nother layer.
Right, exactly.
A whole nother layer of meaning that you can add, that you can bring in.
Right.
That way.
Yeah, I got a whole scene of people singing "Freak on a Leash." I mean, what better literary moment is there? Anyways, I'll stop.
Are you saying yours is your literary moment is the best literary moment?
The fact that "Freak on a Leash" is in the scene is the best thing, not mine, right?
I love it. No, I like that. I like that kind of energy.
There we go.
I think we should brag about ourselves. I'm all for it. Okay, so this is the last question.
Okay, last question, and then we can...
Then we can take other questions. This is the last question for me. What song should everyone go home and listen to tonight?
I got it. X-Ray Specs. And then, I don't know which song. Germ-Free Adolescence is great. Identity. That's what the other one's going to say.
Identity. It's a price you've got to pay.
Yes, X-Ray Specs is one of my, it's definitely...
That whole record's great.
The whole record is great.
Yeah.
What's the record called? Germ-Free Adolescence.
Germ-Free Adolescence,
There we go. Anyone else? One song?
Yeah, let's hear some songs.
I want
Your
some
favorite
suggestions.
songs.
I'm looking for suggestions.
We need to make we're gonna make a playlist right
A
now.
collective playlist.
What song should we put on it?
Funky Town.
What? Funky Town.
I like
All
Funky
right,
Town.
all right,
Is that the singing? Don't take me to Funky Town. Okay, all
Donna
right.
Summer. That's my husband's favorite record ever.
Okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Two more. What?
Closer.
Oh, say no more. We're gonna go out and have a drink later tonight. Listen to that one.
Any other song suggestions for our playlist?
What I Like About You.
There we go. What I like you.
Is that
Tell me whose that is. They're romantics. They're real
Romantics?
Nice.
They had those tight pants on that record, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I miss album covers.
Mm.
You know, like I think. Well, anyways, I'll stop. Any questions from the audience before we mingle? And we should DJ Carr in the back, so put on some music for us. Yeah.
One of the things I loved about the book, I love the book, are
thank
the three sort of sections of it, and each of them feels very different. The second one in particular just feels unusual, and at the beginning of the third section, Gino says, "I'm going to change the text,"
Right.
and I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that.
I actually am so glad you noticed that and asked me about that one. Or on the flip side, I'm always afraid people are going to point that section, that moment out. Like, no, it was this is Evan again, we had really great conversations about it. And one of the things, I'm a very lazy writer. So I had section 1 and section 3. They were kind of, those were the beginnings of the novel, but I wrote them at different times. So one was in first person present tense and one was in first person past tense. And I was like, there's no way I'm changing one to the other to match. Like, I was like, screw it, I need to find a way to make it. I remember posting on Facebook like 3 years ago, like, is there a way to like
Crowdsource?
Yeah, I'm totally right. And so I think Evan brought up like we need a middle section to kind of bridge that, right? And that moment that you're talking about where he mentions it, like literally I wrote 4 pages of that one moment, and it just kept getting edited. That I think I was over explaining, right, trying to justify, and so with Evan really helped me kind of narrow what's happening, just say it and move on. And then of course the suggestion to kind of have fun with, if anyone's seen the middle section, I really was obsessed with ferns, and so the way they propagate is like with spores, and so I just had this imagination of like all these small little prose pieces kind of sporing out. Is that a word? Yes, it is. To say yes. It totally is.
You just made it up.
I just made it up, like spreading out into the world like this with these little poems and kind of dirty little pieces. And so that's I had lots of, and also like Evan again encouraged me to let go of fact. Thanks, Evan, for that. So I had to put in the back, like, I am not a fern expert, so do not trust my fern, So, all these little, I had fern facts that are, some are real and some are just kind of made up to kind of suit what I was doing in the moment. So thank you for pointing that out, though. I loved that middle section, and I was a little nervous about it as well.
You also put a disclaimer about the Corn and Whole concerts not being in the right year in the back, too. Yeah,
I've got some serious guilt I got to deal with, right? Don't trust me on ferns. I'm sorry for the Corn fans. And anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, now we live in a time where everyone can just Google something.
Exactly.
Back then we used to have to trudge to the library and find an encyclopedia and like take off the shelf and then like find the E section or whatever, right?
Right, now
now you just look it right up, and now you can just do it on AI. So.
Right. Ooh, sorry, let's not talk about that.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Any final questions?
Final question.
Final questions? Oh.
Someone has a question. I know it.
We don't need a question. I'd rather mingle and talk with you. All right. I really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much. We're happy to sign books, and I'll got my sparkly stamp and card. You want to say something?
I do. Thank you. Can we get one more hand for Tomas and Michelle? I love that this is socially focused. Socially focused book.
Yeah,
exactly.
Everybody wrap this up. We're trying to hang out.
We're going to sing closer.
So karaoke starts in like 10 minutes. But I'll be brief. I'm just here to say thank you all so much for joining us. This was really fun. Thank you, both of you.
Great turnout. Thanks for
Great
coming out on
turnout.
Tuesday, y'all.
Great. I'm proud of you. We are going, Tomas, I'm going to have you just at the back desk here signing books, but also feel you're a free agent. You can move about. You don't need to just stand right there. But for the sake of getting the thing started, let's do that. We have books at the front register. You can find them there, and Tomas will sign them back here. We have other books. Take a look at them.
Michelle's book as well.
Michelle's book is here.
It's fabulous.
It's a memoir. It's a quick read, short, like standalone essays that are not a non-linear narrative. They are a non-linear narrative at the time. In the band, Spitboy.
Spitboy. I wasn't wearing my Spitboy shirt, but was that going to be too awkward if I missed it? Which one? I was like, no, don't do it.
But great companion pieces. All friends are necessary and Spitboy rule. Thank you all so much. We will see you next time. Thank you.
Did you put the sign?
I saw you holding something up. What?
I noticed.
I was like, you realized.
It's going to be okay.
I